Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing really well. My name is Sofia, I'm a secondary school science teacher in London in the UK, and today I want to talk to you about how I stay productive as a teacher. My journey with productivity has been different throughout the years, but I would say that I am a keen, productive person. I love to be efficient and to manage my time very well, also because I juggle so many different responsibilities whilst maintaining a professional full-time job. Now, whether you are a teacher, a student, or work in a different field, I hope that the tips that I'm going to share with you today and some of those strategies are things that you can implement and that you can find useful to help you be your most productive self. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is how do I stay productive? The first thing that I do is I'm really mindful of my working hours. I like to think about my routines of my working day and what time do I start my work day and what time do I finish it. It's really important to have a clear sense of what your working hours are. So if you're someone that doesn't have those routines in place, or if you're someone that finds to be a slave to the working structure and the working day of your school or your workplace, take a step back and think, where can I find some pockets of time within those working hours to support me with being productive? So for example, personally for me, I'm definitely a morning person, and even though my school working day starts pretty early at 8:30 where I have to be with my students, I personally prefer to get to school an hour earlier to get a few things done straight away in the morning. That doesn't mean that I won't be working late in the evening, and certainly it does happen, but I like to be in control of that time and think, if my school day is going to end at about 4 o'clock, can I take a quick break and fit in some other types of work before then going back to some schoolwork a little bit later in the evening or over on the weekend? The key message here is sticking to a routine of what your working hours are going to allow you to have a structure to then fit in the tasks that you need to get done. My second tip in terms of how I get things done is task batching. What this essentially means is I like to group things that are of a similar type of task all together, and I like to sit down and then try to get through as many as I can of those same types of tasks. An example of this is my email inbox. I don't like to sit down and just respond to one email here and one email there and be interrupted throughout the entire day with all of these emails. I much prefer to sit down in the morning, halfway through my day, and at the end of the day for 15 minutes and try to respond to as many emails as I can. Task batching can be really powerful if you are someone that juggles many different responsibilities within your day. As a teacher, I tend to have admin work, planning, and marking. And so what this means is I prefer to categorize the tasks that I need to do in one of these three main batches, and then I like to sit down and then get as much as I can done in each of these categories. It also gives my to-do list a sense of structure, so when I'm writing out my to-do list for the day and for the week, I can easily categorize all of those tasks under the same umbrella. My third tip is to stay organized. It's really important that you have clear organization systems in place that are going to allow you to not lose precious minutes in finding what you need to do, finding the papers you need to get on with, finding those emails. So having those clear organization systems are going to make you a more productive person. Organization is not only with physical things. Making sure that you are digitally organized and that your mind is clear is also a really important part. So taking some time to reflect, to clear your mind, to meditate, to do a brain dump can also be really effective strategies. Obviously, as a teacher, one of my main things in terms of staying organized is using documents that I can have as a template, whether that is for email responses, for lesson plans, for marking. If I use templates, it saves me a bunch of time in terms of replicating the same structure and the same format of thing that I need to do and I need to give back to my students or to the staff that I work with. My fourth tip, which is really specific to teachers, is your behaviour management. It's really important that you hone in your skill in terms of how you manage student behaviour, because if you do so successfully, you are going to have less work to do every single day. Because of course, managing student behaviour is always going to lead to consequences. That might be contacting home or having restorative conversations with students or holding detentions, or also just dealing with the aftermath of how it made you feel, because every incident to do with behaviour management can take a toll on you emotionally. I find that in the short term, right at the beginning of every single time you are interacting with students and your classes, if you hone in on that skill of managing their behaviour properly, it is going to have a massively positive impact in the long term in terms of managing your time and managing your workload. Now, of course, if you're not in teaching, behavior management is a big question mark to you, but find the source of what makes you frustrated at work, what is adding to your workload without having any meaningful impact. Find that and then try to problem solve how you can get rid of it. My fifth tip in terms of how I do it is to make sure that I eat, I drink water, and I get regular exercise. It is so important to look after yourself. If you are not well fed, if you have not had enough water, and if you have not had any fresh air, the chances are you're going to have really low energy, you're going to not be motivated, and your mind is going to be cluttered. And all of this is not going to make you productive. So take a moment, half an hour I find is a great amount of time. Try to fuel your body with really nutritious and wholesome food. Try to make sure you glug down some fresh, clear, nice water, and also then make sure that you go for a walk, do a little bit of cardio, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of exercise, whatever floats your boat. But I think it's really important to move your body and get your muscles working. Now, I also wanted to talk about some of the strategies that I use to get all of those things done. The first strategy that I use is something called a brain dump. Now, I have spoken about this in one of my previous videos, so I'll just link those up in the cards above. But a brain dump is when you write down everything that is loose in your mind on paper. It doesn't have to be paper, you can do a digital brain dump, but I find the act of writing it really cathartic. And I think it's really important to visualize everything that is happening in your mind. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, a sense of procrastination, and a lack of clarity of what you need to do, a brain dump is a really good place to start, because you can visually see everything that you have to get done, and you can start to categorize all of these things into similar types of tasks, so then you can task batch. And that leads me on to my tip number 2, is to categorize my to-do lists. I don't like to write a to-do list that is a running list of every single thing I need to do. I much prefer to write a to-do list in sections, so those can have a subheading, or I just write them in a specific order of similar type of items. So that can be those emails, that planning, that marking, similar tasks under the same heading. And I also like to categorize them in terms of priority and importance and order in which I need to get them done. And another tip when you're categorizing your to-do list is to make sure that you're writing the deadlines, because making a clear note of when those deadlines are going to allow you to reschedule and reprioritize the tasks for your day and for that week a lot better. My third tip is to set aside specific time to get those things done. When you're planning your day, it's really important that you have a clear sense of what you're doing at the different times of the day. Now, when you're setting that time, be very specific with what the task is that you need to get done in that time. I think it's really important to also use timers to support you with understanding and appreciating how long things actually take you to do. Because it's one thing to think that you're going to get something done, but actually not setting it as a realistic goal, because it could be something that takes you far longer to do or can be a lot quicker to do, and then you end up wasting the rest of the time. So really be mindful with what are the tasks that you're setting yourself to do in a specific amount of time, initially using timers. That way you're learning a lot more about how you get things done, and then you're able to set much more realistic to-do lists for your day, and you're able to be productive. My fifth tip is to actually find a balance between riding the productivity wave and being disciplined. It's really important that you don't just wait for bursts of motivation to then get things done. I think it's really great if you are feeling super productive and you want to make sure you build that momentum and you keep going, you get loads of things done. But equally, when you are hitting a little bit of a low point, that you stay disciplined and you remain focused, ambitious, and motivated to keep going with everything you need to do. So your day shouldn't fluctuate that much. You should still keep to those routines, to those schedules, being mindful of when you need to rest and taking those breaks as you need, but still plowing through a few things every single day, even if you're not feeling as productive as normal. I think finding that balance is really important in managing how you feel, especially overcoming that feeling of being overwhelmed, which leads to procrastination. So finding the balance is going to help you in the long term with avoiding procrastination. And my sixth strategy that helps me stay productive as a teacher is actually reflecting on what my needs are. Sometimes I need to stop and take a break. Sometimes I need to refresh my workspace and change it up. And other times I need to just buddy up with someone and collaborate and work together. I think you can't always expect to be working in the same way, in the same space, in the same pace all of the time. You need to switch things up. And I think that this strategy of changing it up and reflecting and knowing when to stop and what you need need is really, really important. Now, I also wanted to take a moment in this video to talk about my mindset. When you're thinking about productivity, it is really, really important that you have a few key values that are shaping your mindset about how you approach your workload. The first really important thing about my mindset to do with productivity is that my time is valuable. I try really hard to make sure that the things I'm spending my time on are adding value to my professional or to my personal life. And so if there is something that is not going to add value, I will say no to those things. And that's really, really important. Now, the second thing is that I have to enjoy what I'm doing. I know that I'm not going to love every single thing. It's not going to be 100% a love relationship, and there will always be things that I have to just get done for the better. But I think it's really important to reflect that if you're not loving most of it, then you're in the wrong career. The third thing that I think is really important as part of your mindset is to not get bogged down with the small things and to focus on the bigger picture. This shift and this attitude in terms of my mindset has helped me stay clear and stay focused and not be overwhelmed easily, and also not dwell on things that happen on a daily basis. It just means that you have a greater sense of purpose because you're focusing on those long-term goals and on the bigger picture. And finally, the fourth thing that contributes to my mindset when I approach productivity is to be reflective and ambitious. I think the nature of constantly thinking about how your day has been and evaluating your work is really important for you to set realistic goals, but also to be super ambitious with what you can do every day or every week or every month, because without that ambition, you're not going to have a drive or a motivation to get those things done. Now, even if you're not in teaching, I hope that you have found those tips and strategies useful and that some of them have resonated with you. All of those of you who are in teaching and who struggle to be productive, just remember that this job is an incredibly rewarding and satisfying job, even though it is hugely demanding. The key thing to being productive is to love most of what you do, and so find the things that drive your passion, which is going to help you stay motivated and give you a drive and an ambition to be the best that you can be and to be your most productive self. And of course, just remember to be patient. It always takes time to find your way and to learn how to spend your time in the most valuable way. But hopefully with a little bit of practice, whether you want to implement some of the tips and strategies that I've mentioned in today's video or not, I wish you the best of luck. That is it for today's video, guys. Take care, and I will see you really soon. Bye!